Hello everyone, and for this video I am going to be explaining and identifying what market structure is. So let's go ahead and get into it. So the first thing you need to do is find a high and a low. So for the beginning, I'm going to identify this as a high and this as my low. Now, either your price is going to be broken by your high, giving you a higher high, or your low is going to be breaking and giving you a lower low. And in between those, you have your higher lows and your lower highs. So we have this high, of this structure high right here, and then this low right here. Next, after that, we have price retracing back up and then pivoting down, giving us another lower high, because it is this high is lower than the previous high. Next, we see that our low is broken, giving us a lower low. Now, for the purpose and demonstrations of this video, I am going to be using my structure points as when price crosses over my moving averages. My skinnier line is my 20 moving average, and my thicker line is my 50 moving average. So after price makes this lower low, we can see price then again crosses over the 20 and 50 moving average and then rejects to the downside, giving us another lower high. Then price then makes another lower low by breaking that last low. And then this is when price gets interesting. Price goes above, indicating that it's about and almost does break our last lower high, but doesn't. It just barely even comes very close to it, but nonetheless, it's still a lower high. And then price respects this moving average, wicks them both, giving us a higher low. Now, since we have a new structure, a new different type of structure, I should say, we're not having nothing but lows. I'm going to change this color to purple to indicate that we have a new structure point. And now, because it is purple, once we have a different structure than previous, we want to go back to our last two previous structure points. And what we want to do is mark them off in the zone, indicating that when price comes down here, we want it to either respect it or break it. So I'm going to mark these two zones as so. And as you can see, price breaks this previous lower high, but acts as resistance. And then after 3 candles of rejecting, it finally closes above our structure point. Now I'm going to turn this color to red, indicating that it is broken. And as you can see,
it's 20 hours.
Price not only breaks this lower high, but it breaks the other two previous lower highs as well, breaking a total of 3 structure points. Now, since they are all broken, and they are now even closed above, I'm going to go back and mark them, but I'm going to mark them yellow. Reason being because they are not resistance or support, but nonetheless, they are still new structure points. And what it is I would like to see them do is either act as resistance or support. So price continues to move higher and higher, but as you can see, price comes to a stop just a few pips below this previous all-time high. So we do have a higher high, and once again, I'm going to mark it purple, indicating that it is a new structure point different than the others. We have a higher high because it is higher than these previous highs, but we must know that it is not higher than our all-time high. So once I have my two new structure points that are different than the other and they are marked purple, I'm going to also come and highlight them because I want to make sure that I know that these structure points are the ones that I am waiting on to be broken. Reason I'm waiting for them to be breaking, because right now we are neither in a bullish or bearish market. Overall, we have been in a bearish market in the past, but as you can see, new structure points are being broken. So this is how you would analyze and move about making into a new structure. First, like I said, I am going to wait for these purple zones to be broken because I need to know, am I going to be making higher highs or higher lows? So I'm going to mark off these new zones. I'm going to turn this one red because it is higher. acting as resistance. And I'm going to mark this in green because it is lower, currently acting as support. So once I have these two zones, ultimately what I want to do is see this low broken or this high broken. But we have to first get there. So as price moves up and down, as you can see is right now this last lower high is acting as support. And then you see this wick. Now this wick, that means that the candle came down but closed above. But as you can see, these previous zones acted as support. So right now, all our lower highs are acting as support. Price is failing to close below. Same thing for this resistance. Price is failing to close above. But finally, we do have a closure beneath our moving average, giving us a new structure point. And this is a higher low. I'm going to mark this black because this is not anything new. Price then closes above the moving average again, but notice how this high is not higher than this high. This then gives us a lower high, which is good for our overall bearish trend and in what we want to see. So ultimately now, the last thing that we would want to see is for price to close beneath our new higher low structure point, indicating that we will continue our bearish market. So once we get to right here, you can see price open here, wicked up and rejected heavily from these past lower high resistance zones. So once we are finally back beneath the 50 moving average, what I want to see is for the market to come down, break this higher low support, come back and test it, and then make its move down to the downside. So let's see what happened. Price finally breaks this higher low, which is exactly what we want. And now I can even turn it into yellow because now it is broken. The support was broken. And what I want to see is it retested and then go and turn into resistance, indicating that this higher low has now been respected as resistance and I can now turn it red. Once that is identified, I can now turn this from purple back to black because we now have a new structure point, and I can even change these colors or delete these other structure points that I have. Nonetheless, I'm just going to delete them and keep moving forward for time's sake. So now that we have finally broken past our newest structure point, I want our lowest low to be broken as well and see this support turn into resistance. And as you can see, price breaks it and it still acts as support, as you can see, but now as it's acting as support, even though we technically still do have a lower low, because this low was broken and exceeded by this low, if price decides to retrace what it is, I want to see this previous higher low act as resistance. But it was previous support, I want it to now act as resistance, giving us a lower high. And once we have a lower high, I now ultimately want to see that newest lowest low we have broken and taken to the downside, which is exactly what we wanted. And now I can even turn this zone into red, indicating that we have nothing but red, bearish market. And this is how you would identify your structures, identify and correctly mark where you are in a new correction wave, and then how to continue out of that wave. Thank you and stay blessed.